Here. Hey, everybody.
Yep. Hey everyone.
Hopefully,
Seems like
everyone's.
we.
What were you saying, Eric?
It seems like I just got an email. We must have recently got another Twitch subscriber, Steve Dead Deadload. It seems.
Oh, apparently, the display here says it was maybe 2 hours ago. That's cool.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks everybody.
Yep. Good evening, everybody. Hopefully, everyone's doing okay, staying safe, enjoying the hobby, all of that stuff. Us here at Between the Bolter and me, we're doing pretty well, I think. Or at least, I guess I don't know if I can speak for all of us, but
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I can't complain that much. Yeah, I can't complain. Can't complain.
yeah, no, I hear that. I guess I'm particularly pleased that I finally painted a model this year.
Is this the first
Thanks,
that you finished?
thanks for the bits, Greg. I think
You got it.
this is the first model that I finished painting this year. Like I feel this year I've done like nothing. That's sort of what I feel like. I've done nothing, but I guess most of my time has been spent on the Bone Reaper challenge, converting that Eldar model. And
hmm
now that I've finished painting this guard, I will probably move back to painting the Eldar model. Or that's what I need to
Yeah.
do.
I think you need to finish it. You need to finish the model.
It seems like we're dropping frames.
Hmm.
10% over the last 2 minutes. Cool. Well, I don't.
Well, it happens. I almost think I saw something about it that maybe it's been happening more frequently in Twitch as a whole, but I'm not sure.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Twitch is probably getting more traffic
hmm
than it has before, and now that
Yeah, now that we're on.
oh yeah, now that we're in here and we're just bringing in
uh,
all the followers.
that's right.
But
But yeah, great job painting that guard model. Do you want to paint more? You probably don't have others that are assembled yet at the moment, right?
oh,
Or do you?
I have a lot more that are assembled and primed.
Uh,
But so no,
yeah, I thought you had a few.
I have like a whole kill team of the
Yeah.
guard.
Okay.
There's one with like a comms unit. There's one with a plasma gun.
Yeah.
Then there are a few other ones with las rifles. And sort of the idea was that they were going to be a kill team and they were going to be painted in like kind of the urban camouflage of the model with the gas mask on the right there.
Uh huh.
Um, but so I think when I was originally making these guard, sort of some of the focus and some of the thought was I'd make a bunch of like fighters from like like a jungle planet or world. And Eric, you painted a bunch of the guard in kind of a jungle scheme, similar to what I
Yeah.
painted
Yeah.
here. But I never got around to actually painting one of the models, and
Yeah. I painted them for that Thorn Moon's Crusade for Iron Sleet a
mm-hmm,
while back, which was around when you had actually made them.
yeah.
But yeah.
And so this one in particular is one of the ones that I built that used one of the heads that the polysmith sculpted, who we a week or two ago we had him on the stream here for a podcast. So yeah, he was the one who sculpted a whole slew of different female heads, and this when all of this was done initially, it was probably around like 2 years ago or so. They really Games Workshop didn't really have very many usable female heads for in like any of their ranges. Like the most
Yeah.
they
It was
really the most they
yeah.
really had were some like dark elf stuff, and all of
I
those are a
think it
little.
was around. It wasn't around this time.
they just released the Necromunda Escher models, and we thought perhaps they would be useful, but they turned
Hmm.
out to be
Yeah, the
a little
heads.
too small to look good.
Yeah, the heads were too small, and they looked really, really awkward and really bad. The heads
Which
themselves were nice, but just not.
now it would be interesting to see what some of the Imperial or the Sisters of Battle look like.
I
Their
feel
heads, and
some of those heads would work a lot better for something like this, but
yeah, I feel it would be interesting to look at some of them. I mean, you wouldn't want that like the classic hairstyle because that's so, I
no.
don't know, iconic of the Sisters of Battle and would look, I feel, kind of weird. But they had some other scarred ones with like shaved heads and different
Yeah.
sort of hairstyles that maybe isn't quite so, iconic to the Sisters of Battle.
Yeah, so
But I
maybe
think it would be
sometime.
interesting to see what the scale would be like.
Yeah, so maybe sometime, maybe even on this stream, I could pull out some I think I still have some of these guard casts of them, and could try and assemble one and see if we could get one of the Sister Battle heads to actually work. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, I think that would be interesting. I think that would be interesting
yeah.
because
Uh,
yeah, that was a major problem at the time.
no, and then slowly they started releasing more like female Stormcast, and some of their heads were pretty good and fit pretty well on a wide range of GW models, but that was about it for a long time. Um, and now we're in probably the best place we've ever been, mainly just because of the Sisters of Battle. Um, and I
Yeah.
imagine as we see more people convert, like Inquisitors and stuff like that, we'll see more and more of some of those scarred cool heads and stuff start showing up in conversions.
No, yeah, it's true.
So, sort of related to that, like I've been hearing or just reading around online, like I think there are maybe not a large group of people, but there's certainly a subset of like people online and stuff complaining about the Sister of Battle heads and that like they're not pretty enough. We'll say it that way. Um, and like
So
it's
bad.
just like that to me is like utterly baffling. And like on top of that, like most of the heads, at least the ones with the hair, they look really similar to like the old Metal
Hmm.
Sisters of Battle. Did they hate them too? Like I feel I'm completely baffled.
Yeah, I feel I do see a lot of it. People hating on them, and I just don't understand it. Like they're so. First of all, they're so tiny. Like
They're so tiny, but they're actually well detailed. They have all these cool
yeah,
facial
and
scars and expressions, different
because of that,
facial
like
structures.
depending on how it's painted, primed, and all that, like I feel you could easily wash out some of the details and make it look worse, such that
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't.
I've
It would be
largely
hard pressed to do much better.
I've largely been baffled. Hey,
Yeah,
nice to have you here, Ward Sylvania. Ward Sylvania
I
says
think.
I was disappointed that
Yeah,
there wasn't a greater age range of the sisters' heads with more scars, bionics, etc.
yeah, that would be nice.
And then
The
Ward
the
Sylvania says he thought the heads were too pretty.
yeah, I know what you mean.
So I feel at this point, like we have like the Sister of Battle, like army box, and like the Triumph of Saint Catherine set. So those are really the only ones we have. So I feel I need
I
to
think the
buy some of the other sets to get a better look at some of the heads.
I think as Ward Sylvania suggested, the Repentia box, I
Hmm.
think that would be probably pretty good because I feel some of those heads are maybe more scarred and furious kind of looking. I think they would be interesting to see how they would fit with some of these your Imperial Guard models and whatnot.
Because I don't know, I feel like a lot of the people who are complaining about this, they're also the same people who would be out like all these like new female models, you can't tell they're female. Like, this is the grim dark of the far future and all this other bullshit. Well, like, if it is this grim dark far future, like, I would expect, like, all of the soldiers would be all scarred and battered, and so it's like, shouldn't that be what you wanted?
And they probably wouldn't have their tits hanging out.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
isn't that what you fucking wanted? So, I don't know. Yeah, it just baffles me. Baffles me. We could actually probably bring up the... Let's bring up pictures of the...
Yeah, no, it just seems kind of odd what people are complaining about.
Yeah.
And I guess there's always going to be that select few people who are voice loudly their complaints.
Are there
I guess
are there are they elites or what?
I don't remember. Maybe.
I don't think they are.
Yeah, I really don't know. But I mean, they're not troops.
Fast attack, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, but that would be the...
They're fast.
They're not. God.
Yeah, Games Workshop site's terrible.
Are they
well, part of it, like...
Fuck. Are they heavy support? They can't be fucking heavy support. I can't find them, everybody. They've been released, right?
Yeah.
The fuck? Did I pass them? Maybe they haven't been released. No. Repentia Squad. You like what?
I found them here. I sent a link to it.
I think I found them. Like, what the fuck? Like, why couldn't I find them? What are they? Man,
I don't know.
Their website's just awful. I mean, maybe they're angry that some of them, their bionic eyes are too big.
That's not what they're upset about. That's a detail that is unlikely to have been something they noticed. Unlikely.
Yeah, no, I should have just searched for Repentia at the start. Adam Navi. Also, I mean, I thought right when I got to the website, I thought, well, I could just type it in, or like, you know what, like their menus should be pretty easy, right? Yeah, well, they weren't.
Yeah, what is their type? I guess I have the digital codex. I'll try to find out. Try to find out here. We're not the sort to play these games, so it's hard to know.
No. One thing that I like about them is like their bionic like arms and particularly their legs. They're actually pretty different from like some of the standard bionics and stuff you see on Space Marines. Like I feel like in the past, oftentimes when GW were adding other bionics and stuff, the things that weren't Space Marines, they just kind of lifted the Space Marine bionics and put them on the other models. Yeah, so some of these heads are great. Like they would have been perfect when we were doing the Pilgrim event for the Red Church. These would have been perfect for that. Hey, Eli.
They're elites.
They're elites. Okay.
Why they don't show up in the elites section?
Like when
I don't know. I don't know.
Let's do it again. We're going back.
I'm doing it right now. It doesn't work. They're not there.
Okay, so going to elites. Let's go back to the Sisters of Battle. They say there are 6 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, they just don't have them. Thanks, GW. Ow.
Yeah, no, they're not. Their website's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, aspects of it looks okay, but it just doesn't function
Well, I mean,
as
and
you would
like in my
expect.
past experience, even typing in the search box, like that doesn't work well. You type in something you think should be obvious, and it doesn't bring anything up.
Well,
Lord Sylvania says it looks like Repentia are missing a keyword in GW's product database, so they don't show up if you filter by. Yeah, that's probably true. Hey, the Polysmith's here too.
oh hey, nice to have you here.
It's a party.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what that means? It means it's time for more bits.
Always the bits.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Greg.
but Adam, it's neat to see that model painted. It almost seems like now you've painted 2 different like Imperial Guard schemes. Like it would be fun to paint another scheme,
Well, I should paint
like
another
urban
one.
camo, jungle camouflage. Like what's next, desert or
Desert is next, followed by Fire World.
this isn't Age of Sigmar, Greg.
Well,
But
I
it
mean, the Talaran Desert Raiders, they were my first, I hesitate to say army, but I
Adam,
had
you
a
had
bunch
one
of
squad.
them. I had a little
You
more
had
than
one
that.
squad, and then like 2 squads of those awful Catachan plastics painted in a Talaran scheme.
Yeah, they were terrible. Eli wants a Fire World camo now. But so, I mean, that would be kind of fun. Well, I feel for some of this, like these like fatigues and stuff, like I feel maybe if you were on like some crazy Fire World, maybe you'd be wearing something different.
Or like world made entirely out of brick. Brick World. Brick World camo.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So many options.
Like Christmas brick camo.
yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
it's nice to see that done. And you use those little paper ferns for the first time. They seem to have worked pretty well.
Yeah, they were these particular ones were called tropical ferns. They were made from ammo of MiG. And they were pretty nice. They were on a very thin sheet of like laser cut paper, and you had to use an X-Acto knife to make a few cuts to pull each of the ferns out. And then once you pulled them out, I sort of stuck them in place. And then once they were in place, I painted them with some watered down PVA glue. And then once that dried, I then painted them. And in this case, these like they were painted with a range of like an enamels, oils, and then finally some acrylics to brighten some of the different ferns and such. But yeah, I think they turned out pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
I would be interested to try and find some more like plants and stuff like that made out of like brass etching and such, because I feel those would be they'd be a little easier to like hold their shape, particularly if you didn't want all of them to be like very low to the ground. But in this case, since she's sort of trampling them, it works okay.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they make photo etch stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. I've seen people with them before, but I'm not sure who actually made them. And then I guess for some of the little plants, I actually use some of those like Death World vines that GW makes in that weird soft plastic. So I cut off a few of them, and you can see them at the front of the base. Oh, so Eli gives a suggestion. Duella Scenics. I don't know. I don't think I've never heard of them. But maybe they have brass etched like ferns and plants and such. I mean, I'll have to look into it more because the base itself was kind of fun to make, and I imagine you could do a lot of interest. He says he definitely spelled it wrong, so we'll have to look into that a little more. And I feel if you were really trying to get a compelling and cool bases and stuff, like you could do a fair amount of research to try and figure out what type of plant life and such would be on the world you wanted them to be on.
Well, Juwila, they make little model bricks, so they are what you need for Brick World.
Oh.
Oh yes, Brick World.
But I feel for a lot of these like jungle bases and stuff, initially I was sort of struggling to figure out, like, since the bases are so small, it's like there's not really room to put a whole lot of stuff. And so in this case, she's literally trampling the ferns and such, and that was really the only thing I could think of to actually get some of that in there and make it look somewhat believable.
It's a 24 millimeter base.
Yes, what used to be the standard GW base, so the smaller ones.
Yeah. 24 millimeter for the win.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, so there, Eli put in Juwilla. That was pretty good, Eli. Only missing one letter. It's close enough that you could easily find it.
I found it.
Greg found it too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's what I've been worked on, was the guard model here. I think, Eric, you've been doing at least a little. And I think you. Oh yeah, you started.
I started to go back to painting the Sisters of Battle, which I think I sent a picture.
Talk about the other new guard model, the one that you didn't build or paint that is special and coming out.
Was he on the community side?
Yeah.
Let me find him.
But I'm back to painting these Sisters of Battle, and I did a bunch of the base coats here, but have been sort of slow about it. Over the weekend, though, I assembled my first Gundam model in maybe 20 years.
It's the thing about the stores opening again, Adam, I think.
It is.
Reopening. Okay.
Because I think they're sending stores, independent stockists, not the GW stores. They're sending those models.
I think
for free
games and stuff.
Yeah, I think there's only going to be, the thought there would only be like 4 or something was the rumor. I don't know if
like 4 of the models
of that model for free to the independent stockist.
No one's going to get them.
Yeah,
that's nice. Okay, so that's actually kind of funny. So like we can compare this model, this jungle fighter, with the jungle fighter that I built and painted. They're pretty different.
Yeah,
they are pretty different.
And to me,
I wish that dude wasn't so strong.
Well, I mean, even if he was as buff as he is, like, I wish he had a fucking shirt on. Like, why doesn't he have a shirt underneath his armor? And to me, it seems like he's just trying to be too cool for school. Like, look at all this junk he's holding. And
is that a plasma pistol?
This is probably a plasma pistol, which it's neat. It's actually in a holster. I'll give them that.
He has like a sword back there. Maybe it's a cool power sword. He has that skull thing, antenna thing.
He's a little too cool for school.
The head's the best part. The head is maybe the only part I like.
I like his power fist. But his pose is a little bad. He's fine.
Yeah, he's okay.
I mean, if it was at stores and I knew they were going to be at stores, I would drive to get it.
Mm-hmm. Eli says shirts make it harder for one to see how many leeches you have on you. Yeah,
Well,
so
that's
on
what's
this
gonna
death
the
world,
armor, his breastplate will really make that hard. We'll
I mean,
all
Does he
get
have
under there.
a little cartridge hanging from a tassel on his arm?
I
Yeah, he does.
I think so. I was trying not to talk about that or rail on that, but yeah,
Come on,
Greg
shoot
saw it
down
too.
you.
I am sort of like he has like the little bandolier pouches or whatever on the front of him. That's kind of cool.
Looks bad though. And you know what else he has? He has his foot up on something.
Of course he
Yeah.
does.
Whatever.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
as
so
as the
Polly
pop,
Smith has mentioned what I think we all probably thought Predator.
Yes.
Yeah, Dylan
And
from Predator.
and
and like
also I
that's
guess
cool.
the sergeant dude from
From
Halo, which
Aliens.
was well from
Aliens as well.
Halo, which is just the character
Just the
from
guy
Alien. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has these like kind of cool little like Scion like knee pads. Are they even attached to anything?
It doesn't look like it.
So they're just attached to his pants. How does that even work?
Adam, suspend that disbelief.
Yeah, I mean overall he's cool. He looks better than like the old plastic Catachan models. They tried to do some Death World action on his base, and I don't really love that, but they went for it, and I guess
I mean,
can
they
applaud them.
even put the Predator blood on that.
Well, yeah, on
Fern back there.
on the Fern, yeah. So they were not trying to be subtle.
No.
So yeah, he's cool. Like
The best thing is sort of what I think Ward Sylvania mentioned up there in the chat, that it's neat they're sending independent stockists like free models and trying to support them, particularly after the coronavirus, which has probably put a huge strain on a lot of them.
Paulie Smith thinks that maybe that Dylan's mother sewed the knee pads into like the pants. Like that could be it.
It would make sense. Didn't sew him a shirt though.
Well, she probably did. It's just he didn't want to wear it.
He got too buff that it didn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
Too buff such that his neck is so thick. God, that's a buff guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't like the model.
to me, it seems very caricatured and more cartoonish than maybe a lot of their more recent stuff.
Which is what, like, with all some of the Warcry models and the like, I was hoping that was an indication that they were moving a little bit of away from extreme caricature. And this is not that at all.
Yeah.
As in, it's not moving away, it's running straight back towards.
Yes, right back.
Like, but I mean, the stuff's, all the parts look pretty well sculpted, so it's not a bad model.
I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more of that plasma pistol. Like if it is actually holstered pretty well, like I think that could, and it's not
useful.
like, and is it not like molded to the leg?
Mm-hmm.
That could be useful for a lot of other stuff.
Honestly, though, this is more than anything. This is probably a disappointment in the fact that the rumor engine thing, they had shown a picture of the binoculars. It's like, oh, this is cool. This is probably the sign that Imperial Guard are getting redone. But no, it's just another exclusive model. That, I mean, I'm sure the Imperial Guard will get redone, or like there'll be some new ones eventually.
The model could be another Space Marine because that's what they always are. But the female Catachan special model, what was that for?
I don't even know.
And can we get that? Because I don't particularly love that model either, but I would.
It was better than this one.
I would have rushed out to get it.
I don't know what that was for or where it is.
Ward Sylvania says, I wasn't planning to buy this, but all your hate has convinced me to get one.
Yeah.
Well, if you can, good luck getting one.
Yeah.
I feel it could be challenging, but
one of the, almost the thing to me that makes the least sense, and like to me doesn't fit at all with the Jungle Fighters, is the little bionic skull thing on his back. Like, what the fuck's that? Like, you would never want that moving through the jungle. Like, holy fuck.
Adam, that's obviously part of his power pack for his
The
power
fist.
fist.
That's
He,
could be true.
he needs to have a huge power pack
Does he have
back
a
there.
little cape? Is that a cape thing?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean maybe
A tiny cape. Yeah, I don't know.
a half cape or something. It sort of looks that way.
Need to see more pictures eventually.
Yeah.
I guess this just makes me afraid that the new guard could be jungle fighters, which I mean, I would be thrilled to see cool new jungle fighters, but they could be new jungle fighters and they could largely look like that.
Well, like the old, they had a long time ago. They had a Catachan Jungle Fighter Codex, I believe, and I mean maybe I think Karl Kopinski did the art for it, and they looked so good there. Like that's what they need to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like they were muscled and buff, but not like
Not like this.
All right,
over buffed.
let's stop talking about.
We should. We're done.
Stop talking about Dylan. I like your head, Dylan, not the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could take that binoculars and put it on a Space Marine.
You could.
All right, yeah, let's move on.
What are we moving on to?
Austrians, plastic Austrians, they'd make them terrible.
Oh, they would be awful.
You know it, Wordsylvania, they'd make them terrible.
But I mean, if they made them well, it would be cool.
Yeah.
I don't think they could do it. If they looked anything like the metal ones, oof. Oof.
Yeah, well, yeah, so we don't have to keep on this plastic sister. It's nowhere. But I did, over the weekend, I was encouraged to build a Gundam model. So I feel that was a new thing for me, or essentially a new thing.
Wait, Ward Sylvania says at least give GW a chance. I mean, I'd give them a chance. I feel like they made plastic Austrians, there would be aspects of them that I liked.
I mean, Wordsylvania, even if I didn't like them, I would still buy them and send them to Adam.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Greg.
Like, I'm all about supporting GW.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, so Eric, you put together a Gundam model this weekend?
I did.
Yeah, man, I feel the last time we assembled a Gundam model was when we were in like high school or something.
Yeah, wasn't it a Gundam Wing Mercurius, perhaps it was called?
Yeah, Mercurius. Yeah.
The red one.
Yeah, the red one that was partnered with V8, the blue one.
Mm-hmm. But like, it's been so long, and I hadn't really thought too much about these sorts of kits, and had forgotten what all the different grades were. But I guess this one was a HG. Is that like high grade?
Yeah. So with all these Gundam kits, they now have, and they've had this for a while, but they have different. I'm going to say quality grades. Like the cheapest is referred to as the high grade, and their scale is 1/144, so it's the smallest of the Gundam kits they make. And the kits are like $15 to $22 or something. They're not particularly expensive. And then they have the master grade, which is a 1/100th scale, and they're a lot more detailed and a little bit bigger and more expensive. And then they have a bunch of other ones too.
I think the master grades, they also they have like an internal frame, and then you put all the armor plating and stuff on top of that. Most of the high grade ones are not like that. But yeah, I don't know. I've been looking at them a little, and they've really impressed me. Like, it's interesting how different almost like the design philosophy and stuff in the models is than from like what say
Adam,
GW does.
bust out the camera and show
We
the
can do
kit
that.
that you
We can do it.
have. As you're doing that, I'm gonna talk, and I have a model kit that I'm gonna try to assemble. And can people see it?
Um,
I don't have a bad web camera.
yeah, I see it.
It's fucking Mewtwo, Greg. Where did you even get that?
The little hobby shop in Lancaster. It's a snap together model kit of Mewtwo.
All right, we got the camera on.
That seems like that won't be very challenging.
Yeah, I don't think it will be.
Don't really have a good place to keep the light. These boxes are reflective as fuck.
Yeah, so this is another high grade one, which, yeah, I don't know. The Gundam models, they're just a very different sort of model kit.
$21 I got it for.
I feel they're a lot more like sort of traditional scale models of tanks and whatnot in their price and kind of the sorts of plastic and whatnot. But unlike a scale model, which is usually just one particular type of plastic, that the intent is you build it and you paint it and all those things, the Gundam models, I feel they take a lot of pains to make it such that you wouldn't necessarily need to paint them and do like a huge amount of cleanup and that sort of work, which is interesting and is very, very different from like a Games Workshop model where like you have to clean stuff up.
Sorry, rank one of these packages, they're loud.
I think the kits have improved over the years, where maybe some of the earlier versions of some of the kits, they didn't have as much different colored sprues, such that maybe you would have had to paint them.
But I mean, like,
I think that's true.
I mean, like, look at this sprue. This is the A sprue. Like, it's one different piece, and like it's here is like a little separate part that the plastic's like a clear blue for the visor, and then it shifts over to all like the white pieces.
And so the visor
pieces.
The visor's not even a sticker.
No,
so I feel like that's the one thing that people largely hate is when they give stickers, because they never look that good.
Well, so this one that I have, like, there's a little tiny sticker sheet, which I think. Oh, so I guess on the head here, like, I think maybe there are like these like little square panels that I think you could put those stickers in, which I don't feel like I'd want to use the stickers.
I feel a lot of the higher grade ones, they tend to come with like water transfer like decals.
Eric, you should use, when you say higher grade, that's confusing because that's the name of one of the grades. One of the more
the master or perfect grades.
Yeah.
Whereas, because I think they have like the real grade, which is supposed to, I think, be the master grade like quality, but not in the 1/100 scale, and in the smaller scale, the 144. But I think a lot of them come with stickers and such.
Well, Adam even has the like $50 Japanese God Hand nippers.
They're pretty nice. Like and so what's interesting, like these sprues, it's like they almost, so if you look at the side, like the mold line is like almost non-existent, and then it's nice, like the little gates here, like they get a lot smaller towards where it attaches to make it like easier to snip off the piece.
I think the way the kits, the Gundam kits, I feel are very much designed that a good nippers would save a lot of the kind of cleanup work you'd have to do, whereas I think GWs are a little bit thicker, that they're not as useful. Like, I mean, having a good nipper is helpful, but
I mean, So yeah, like I just trim this stuff off, and I mean, I feel I would want to go back and trim it up slightly, but like overall, like there's not much that you would have to do, and there literally aren't mold lines, or the mold lines themselves are like on like one of the edges, such that you just can't see them. So that's cool. Like, and then
Well,
like a
so
lot.
some of the newer kits, I think they even make them such that the gates that attach to the pieces are like underneath, such that you don't have to clean them up at all because they're all hidden.
Interesting.
So you can just clip them off and assemble it, and all the most of the mold lines where the gates are, like you don't even have to cut them off and carefully sand them and stuff because that could discolor the stuff. So I think it's clear that I don't think all of their kits are like this, but some of their better ones, like a lot of effort was made in the engineering to reduce mold lines, reduce gaps, make greater articulation. Like I think they've actually started to reduce some of the use of the poly caps they'd often have because they can over time kind of give out and not hold their pose as well.
Oh,
But
that's like for some of the cheaper models, they have these like little a softer plastic piece that is in like the joints and stuff, so they like can move and such.
yeah, that's right.
Well, that in itself is also interesting. So, like, in addition to having all the different colored and molded plastics, they're also designed such that they have, depending on the grade, different ranges of motion and stuff. And yeah, it's kind of weird because like most of like the walkers and stuff that GW makes, like they either have no motion or it's like supremely limited. So it's just like the focus is just like completely different.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, those Games Workshops making models that they're for a game, whereas I guess Gundam and Gunpla likes to think that maybe people will be setting up cool poses and
scenes.
dioramas and stuff, which admittedly, like you can make dioramas with your Warhammer stuff too, but
Yeah, I just find it's very interesting how like they have invested a lot of money for all these really fancy injection mold things to reduce mold lines, and then all this engineering for hiding them and like hiding the gate marks and all those things, which some of that stuff would be great if GW would do more of that, which admittedly they are. But then there's all this additional effort such that a lot of the pieces like will interlock with one another such that you can see an underlying piece partially coming up through the others to add the different colors and such without requiring painting. And even like this uh the model that I had assembled, which is like I think a pretty old model and one of the cheaper ones, I was still pretty impressed with how generally good looking it was without really doing anything other than putting it together and foolishly using some panel liner on it without putting something on it to protect it.
Well, so and yeah, that's a shame. Also, one thing that's in so like this, it has its like little like submachine gun or whatever. It like actually has motion. Like it has a little stalk, a folding stalk that actually folds back. Like that's cool. And then there's another little foregrip that folds out that you can use. I think the magazine for it can be taken in and out. Um,
Yeah, some of the stuff is pretty interesting, and some of the kits actually come with like wire and whatnot to attach to different things to make cabling and whatnot. Yeah, it's just such a different type of kit. But as I kind of mentioned briefly, that Tamiya and other companies make a bunch of different, I think, kind of enamel based products to like panel line the models, since a lot of the Gundams have a lot of these panel lines where different armor plates come together, that if you fill them in with a wash or something to darken them a little bit, it adds some additional contrast and looks a lot better. And I think that's one of the main, even if people don't tend to paint the models, they will do at least some like panel lining and stuff, which helps, to make them look better. And I had some of this Tamiya stuff that I had got with the hope of using it on some like scale tanks that I was using, and thought like, oh, this will be perfect for these. Like, I'm not going to paint it, but I'll just use some of that. And I mean, hell, it even says literally on the side of the bottle that it can damage plastic and make it more brittle and to be careful with it. But I didn't see that. And I was like, oh, this is what this stuff's for. And well, admittedly, it does make it look nice. Like, it worked pretty well. And without much effort, I was able to add some of that definition to the panels, but particularly on the wrists where you stick the kind of hands into the wrists with like a ball and socket type thing, and it kind of puts some tension on there such that they stay in place. That additional tension and pressure started to just crack them. So, yeah. I should have at least put like some sort of varnish, like a matte varnish on it or something that would have probably helped reduce that. And it might have also putting a matte varnish on it first would have probably also reduced some of the shine, and it wouldn't have looked quite as much like this is a plastic model.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it was a good learning experience, and it wasn't very expensive. And I was actually kind of surprised that, like, when cutting off the pieces, I'd like clean them up with an X-Acto knife, but then I used just some fine grit, like sanding pads, and it did a really nice job to the point that it didn't really even discolor the plastic.
What grit were you using? Do you remember?
Maybe 1,000 or 1,400. Probably 1,400. One of the finer grits. Like, I was just using, Tamiya has these like little sanding sponges, and I was using one of the highest. I guess I used two, one that was a little bit less fine and then a finer one, and it worked pretty well. So ultimately, yeah, without spending much time.
These little things, these Tamiya sanding sponge sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, hell, like it didn't really sand it. Like, you wouldn't even had to glue them. The model
John,
together.
nice to have you here. We're talking about Gundam models.
Yeah, we are. And I don't know if anyone here has watched much Gundam. I mean, we did a bunch when we were in high school. And we started with Gundam Wing, which was the first Gundam series that they premiered on television in the United States. But there was the one short, like 12 episode series, 08th MS Team, which is probably the best of the Gundam stuff that I've seen. And the mobile suit that Eric assembled a model of, the Gouf. There's a prominent scene towards the end of that series with the Gouf that is great.
I think it's linked in the post.
Okay, one of the coolest mecha fight scenes that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's great.
Eli's watching it now. Have you've not seen it before?
I think Eli's seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, he mentioned something about it. But yeah, well, didn't maybe lead guitarist or something, DeBoris, that band, recently post a picture of assembling?
Yeah, Instagram, Wata, the lead guitarist, vocalist, was posted on Instagram a picture of that she assembled a model of the Gouf.
And it was even the custom one in it, 08th MS Team, of all things, which is a little bit different. Yeah, no, Johnny, that they're great for kit bashing. Yeah, I'd be interested, like thus far, I've only really assembled one now. So I'm still kind of getting a sense of how they go together. And admittedly, this is an older one too. But I think it would be neat to work with a few and kind of get a sense of things you could do to make other things that would be amenable to 40K. Because I think you could certainly do that.
Like if I took this plastic Mewtwo kit and replaced Mewtwo's head with a skull, that would probably be 40K, right?
Oh, Greg, you were talking about this. That's what you wanted to use for your 28th magazine challenge, for your new demon, Chaos God.
Yeah, amazing. Also, Johnny, the Gundams that you said you made a few, did you like keep them as what they were supposed to be, or did you do like make your own sort of stuff by like bashing kids together?
Yeah, I could see it being pretty fun. And like some of them, like the scale and stuff, they could work pretty well. Yeah, like I feel I'll probably try and assemble this 08 MS team suit and then think more about it. But I almost feel like had we actually made something for like the Jolita event, like getting a few of them could have been a great way to kind of at least get a basic frame done.
One thing that I think is interesting, I think some of the newer, like nicer ones, they have, since they kind of shifted away of using all the polycap stuff, it results in their arms not drooping and such and holding their poses better. But I kind of wonder that I think some of that would probably then make it difficult to paint things, and that then maybe the arms wouldn't fit on as well because there's such tight tolerances.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, it's just very different, which I guess admittedly some of the like Mr. Color enamel paints and whatnot, I think are very thin, so maybe it wouldn't be as much of an issue, but
what Johnny's saying that the Observatory posted recently, part of that was made from.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, like the stuff, like a lot of the different components and pieces are very nicely detailed. So, like, you could easily just kind of go through and look for various shapes to use. Particularly if you just were making like a larger craft or something and wanted interesting like greebling and stuff.
Like, yeah, maybe I should get some add to the Arvis lighter and make it more interesting looking.
I think it's interesting enough, but like
yeah, I think
I'm just
fine,
like looking. So like if we look at this model here on its knees, it has these like little gray extensions. Like yeah, they actually they're the little gray pieces, and then you slot them in the knee. So like you wouldn't even have to paint that if you didn't want to.
That's great.
Yeah, that's fun.
So it's probably a newer one of the high grades, maybe.
2016.
Okay, so that's pretty good. Pretty new.
Yeah, so it's cool.
Yeah, I just want to buy a bunch of gun models. Have to refrain.
Okay, he also says that the tank thing he made for Jolita, the arms were made from a small Gundam weapons kit. Yeah, so that's cool. Like I feel like all of that stuff, like
well, wasn't that cool thing also partially made off of like kind of like a chibi Sherman or something model as well? Or I thought it was. But regardless, yeah, and I think, yeah, as you're saying, Johnny, like so many of them, like they're so inexpensive, at least in terms of Games Workshop stuff. Like even the like really nice one, a lot of the really nice ones are still like $50 or whatnot.
Yeah, like
I guess probably no Gundam models come with photo etch. Or maybe some of the perfect ones do. I don't know.
most of them do not. But I know, yeah, some of like the higher grade ones will have, like, I think maybe even like little like metal pistons and stuff in between some of the, so like they've done some weird and interesting things. But yeah, so they're cool. I'll have to try and assemble this one that I have here, and maybe it'll give me ideas of things to do and work with. But like you could also
I think
imagine,
just working with some would give you a kind of a sense of what's available. But I guess part of it's also like this Gouf I assembled. It was sort of satisfying from something that, like, even I'm not the most accomplished painter, but it still takes me a while to do what I do and to assemble them and all these things. Everything, it's like such a long process. But it was pretty satisfying to basically spend a Saturday in this little model come together and look nice and be done. I mean, then I kind of went and destroyed it using the panel liner. But yeah, it's just a different. So in that sense, it was somewhat therapeutic.
to actually just build something and like,
Yeah, so it was a chibi Sherman. Yeah, it was great.
you know, yeah, like some of the kits can get more expensive, but they make so many that are like outrageously cheap.
Yeah, like $10 or something
Yeah,
for.
like yeah, some of the arms and little weapons and stuff are like surprisingly nice. And I mean, you could, a lot of the stuff you could probably make yourself with like plastic card and stuff like that, but that's often a lot harder to do than, it's hard to make stuff symmetrical and straight.
Mhm.
um so yeah, I don't know, I'll have to experiment more with it, and I sort of feel like if I continue um making more stuff for like the Imperial Guard and stuff that I worked on, like I could probably make little like mecha or like sentinel type things. And
Yeah, because I feel that, I mean, obviously these aren't real in any degree, but I feel a lot of the models, particularly some of the Universal Century ones that aren't trying to be super cool looking, I feel have more of a militaristic vibe to them. And I think they honestly look more like a real piece of technology and machinery than maybe some of the Games Workshop stuff.
oh, and since a lot of them they were designed to be able to move and stuff, there was more thought put into some of the hinges and joints and stuff.
That's a good point.
So
That's a good point.
God knows there's a lot of thought that has to be put into designing anything like that to make it actually move.
Hmm.
Johnny wants me to make the little goal. Yeah, so maybe that's something I'll think about doing, because they would be fun. And then maybe that would convince me to actually paint more of the guard.
Wait, make what? I was looking at Gundam models online.
I was saying maybe try and use some of, after I've assembled one or two of these models, like use some of them to try and make like some little Imperial like walkers or something to go along with it. Oh, Johnny likes the Cobalt shirt. It's an awesome shirt.
I mean, Cobalt. Their album Gin. Gin is probably my favorite metal album. Well, I guess that's what the shirt's for too. Like, I love that album.
Yeah.
The Hemingway album.
Yeah. Or in Hunter S. Thompson too.
Eli, I don't really see why you're fighting the urge to order that War in the Pocket. I think that's what that was from, right? That camphor mobile suit. You should just buy it.
I mean, it's probably $30.
It's probably really cheap. Yeah. Yeah. So you know that maybe I'll start thinking more about that, because It would be neat to have some more like mechanized like support for the guard, and like I really need to. I mean, Eli, no, probably no one really needs more models, but this could serve as an inspiration for like your current projects and stuff. Like you want to make like Black Legion type shit. Like why don't you make like a cool Chaos Dreadnought or something with some of these like inner frames of some of the Gundam kits and stuff, because and it wouldn't just be some of like the fleshy constructs that most Chaos vehicles and stuff are now. You don't want that. And your basement was pretty clean, Eli.
Yeah, that's true.
But anything to try and encourage me to actually paint more of the guard that I've assembled would probably be good. It would be good. Eli says, well, I can't argue with that logic, Wallet.
I guess too, if like if it's just an initial thing to just assemble it as is and kind of see what they're like again, it's nice in the fact that you could just spend a weekend or something and it's actually like a project that you did and completed, and there can be some satisfaction in that rather than another GW box that you buy, maybe you open it and then nothing happens with it.
Hey Dave, nice to have you here tonight. We've largely been talking about Gundam model kits and how they could be applied to other projects and conversions.
It's been a while since I've seen any Gundam series.
Oh yeah, it's been
a long while.
Probably like 10 years. I feel the last one I watched was Greg, you and I rewatched 08 MS Team.
Yeah, but that was now probably 5-6 years ago.
Which when we were in graduate school, and so I was probably like, oh boy, no, but it was before I did my postdoc, which I did my postdoc for 4 years, and now I've been at this newer job for a year. So yeah, it's been probably like 8 years.
Yeah, it's always time goes by quickly.
Hey Dave, like we've started to for the stream now. I think we're starting to try and start it at more around 10 because Greg has to get up early to go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I guess towards that end, it's very likely that actually next week we are going to do this a day early, so Monday evening rather than Tuesday evening. But that's because we're going to be recording an episode of the podcast with the Real Broken Fingers, which probably a lot of you are kind of familiar with the stuff he does. He makes a lot of dioramas, kind of war-torn, wind-swept, crumbling ruins and cities with Alpha Legion and other things. But so yeah, he's gonna be on, so I'm excited about that.
And I guess he recently started a YouTube channel, which I think most of you know about that. But he's been making videos as of late talking about true scaling Space Marines, assembling Titans, making like battle scenes and stuff, and how he goes about some of that stuff. Yeah, so we're gonna be talking with him, so that should be fun. And yeah, so it's gonna be on Monday, right, Eric?
Yeah. Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it looks like, which is about noon in Australia the following day.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah, but supposedly he's been doing like pretty much, I think, all of the YouTube stuff thus far just with his iPhone, like an old iPhone. But he's thinking about trying to like do something with Twitch and use a DSLR camera and whatnot. So
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool.
The lifeboat, yeah, I don't know if we'll do 2 next week. If we'll do, we'll see.
I mean, we might also try and do like a more of a hobby stream where we're either painting or building something. Like yesterday we had a short painting stream where I was finishing painting that guard, the jungle fighter guardsman.
God, we need to write a post for that. The month is almost over.
Is almost over. It's already May almost. That's crazy.
Nah, it is pretty crazy. Yeah, but we've generally for the blog have had a goal to have at least 4 posts on the blog
Every month.
like every month.
Sometimes it's a struggle.
Oh yes, but just to keep a relatively steady stream of content there, and I think we've been able to maintain it for the entire span of the blog somehow. Which,
that's crazy.
I mean, admittedly now, like one of the 4 posts is just something proclaiming that we had recorded a podcast, but so maybe that's not quite the same sort of content. But I think the podcast episodes have gotten better over the last like 6 months in that they're primarily interviews and such rather than just us talking about models. Like we don't have to have a 45-minute stream or episode of the podcast complaining about that new Dylan promotional model.
No. Well, we already spent a lot
we
of
just
time
did
on the
that.
stream doing
We just
it,
did
so.
that, but it won't get the podcast treatment. So that's something. I would say we won't get that professional podcast treatment, but professional isn't really the word I would use to describe
No, probably
our
not.
editing process.
Well, I mean, the blog used to have a lot of like reviews about stuff and talking about design and stuff, and most of that we sort of still have, but it's just on this stream. Johnny says y'all don't like it. You're presumably referring to the new Catachan model. I feel there are aspects of it that are pretty neat, but it's he's kind of really like ham-fisted and kind of like, I don't think all the parts work together. I mean, it's funny how like directly they're like pulling from Predator and stuff. Like they even have the Predator blood on the leaves and stuff back there. So it's like they weren't trying to be subtle. Like his head, I like his head. That's the best part about the model.
I think his legs, they remind me so much of kind of the bulky, clumsy looking Scion legs.
Yeah.
Well, I almost feel like Ward Sylvania did to create his sort of Scion-like models, which involved cutting off and replacing the Scion legs, right, with the Enforcer ones. I almost feel like this model would benefit from that.
Mm-hmm.
Cut off those sort of questionable legs, replace them with those Enforcer ones, and I think it maybe could look better.
He does look like the commander from Halo, but like he was also very much based on some of those older movies like Aliens and Predator and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, we should talk about there's a new Kickstarter that people should back. Like Eli, you'd like it. It's
always another Kickstarter.
Parastic Beasts. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. So it's like a book where 4 artists are drawing crazy, interesting beasts, and then a writer is like writing descriptions and stories about the creatures for use in like role playing games. And most of the artists have done work for Cadabra Records, which is a little record label that all what they do is they make spoken word records of short stories. So they've done a lot of Lovecraft stories. So they'll press that onto record, and they'll usually always have some original music written to accompany the readings of the stories. But so this particular Kickstarter, I think it's 4 artists, um, and they're great.
That's
Um,
cool.
Joe Kleinberger, for example, um, he does a lot of cool, like spirited beasties and such. Around Halloween, he always does a series of cool little pumpkin jack o' lantern type creatures that I love.
Yeah, they're great. They are great.
But I mean, I think it only launched today, so there's still plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's cool.
Has it passed its goals yet?
yeah, so no, it hasn't. Like, it's not even close. I mean,
I
I
want
think
$25,000. It's a lot,
yes,
but
that's a
I
lot of
don't
money.
really know how much printing anything costs. So
But I still feel like lots of other things that don't look this good, like plow through their goal almost. So
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I guess it's like a newer
it's
thing.
$7,000 and all basically at 7,000, and it still has 29 days to go. So it's gonna make it. But if you like RPGs and you like cool, creepy art, it's right up
Mm-hmm.
your alley.
Yeah, it's true.
And I like those things.
Me too. Me too. Adam, what are you going to actually do now that that model's painted?
I'm going to finish painting the Eldar model.
Okay, so you're
That's what I
gonna
need to do.
quickly go back to that.
That's what I have to do.
That's a good goal.
I
That's a
can't let
good
the
goal.
model defeat me. And then once that's done, I'm not 100% certain. I do need to go back and finish painting some of the other Sisters of Sigmar that I made, like I converted that ogre model and whatnot. So that needs to happen. Maybe I'll make some more Gundam kits.
Yeah, I mean, I guess now that you're painting stuff, like probably because you hadn't really 100% finished painting all your Sisters of Sigmar, other than the ogre, obviously. But even some of the other stuff, I don't think you had quite finished, right?
No, there's more work that I need to do on them.
I mean, those would probably be easier than this Eldar model, right? In the sense that you have kind of, a direction of where you're going and you know what you want to do with it. It's not the difficult thing of defining a color scheme and such, right?
That's true. Oh, Sharding Squid, I also can't wait to see the model finished. Like, I'll be so jammed.
I mean, you probably have to think of some more stuff that you like, how you want to paint it, right?
I
Like,
do.
what are you working on? Like, when you start to paint it again, like, what are you going to be doing?
I still need to do more work on the greens of his armor and such. And then I think what I need to do soon after that is kind of decide for his helmet how I want to paint that visor.
Yeah, because I think that would be a good thing, because that'll obviously be a big kind of focal point and defining portion of the model. So it'd probably be good to get that, done, or at least started, right?
Yes. I just went on Instagram to like bring a picture of the Eldar that I'm painting, And
God, Eli, you posted that wonderful.
yeah, Eli just posted his awesome like chaos spawn type thing. Like hell yeah.
Yeah, it's so
Oh,
good.
Witchhammer Studios showed picture of this like little Doom Marine. Like I just can't get enough of how cool he is. I love him. He's awesome.
Yeah, good job, Johnny.
Hmm. Oh yeah, and this might be the servitor that he was talking about. That the back part of him was probably like a piece from one of the Gundam models. That's cool. Oh yeah, it's that you can it's clear that's cool. It's a good use for stuff like that.
Well, one thing that's sort of neat about it is it still very much fits with Games Workshop look to it, but it's not recognizable, which is cool.
Okay, so I finally was able to bring up the Eldar model. Yeah, so like I think the big thing that I have to work out with that is quite what I want to do with his like helmet and like visor. Like I still am not quite certain like how he has all those grinning teeth and stuff. Like I don't know if I want them to be like a bone color or to kind of correspond more with like the blue armor, because that you could sort of imagine that itself is like maybe wraithbone or something. So the teeth could be that color too.
When you say blue, do you mean green?
Bluish green, yeah.
Yeah. I feel it's something, I mean, I guess people could weigh in with sort of their thoughts, but I feel perhaps it's something that you want it to kind of stand out.
Yeah, so maybe
Because,
making
like,
it white.
I feel you want to make the head kind of a focal point.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, like, that's, the most important part of a model.
Dave says gold or silver teeth, so that could be cool. No, and then Johnny says it all sort of depends on the visor. Yeah, that's true. Like I'm
So,
still
what color is the visor?
yeah, so I don't know yet. I mean, that could kind of be like an interesting metallic color.
Hey, friends, I'm going to bed. I should go to bed. I should have went to bed 18 minutes ago. Nice talking to everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. You can keep talking about the cool things. Everybody keep building more models. Everyone keep living your best life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks,
See you,
Greg.
Greg.
The gold or silver teeth would be cool.
All shiny and chrome.
All shiny and chrome, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
I feel like that's part of the reason why like I'm not more excited about the whole painting process, is because I'm still
Uncertain of how to go about it. I don't know. I feel whatever it is, I think, yeah, you want it to stand out at least to a degree.
well, and so even like the model also, it has kind of more like a synthetic cloth like look in between some of like the plating and the side, like that. I'm not certain what color I want that to be. That could actually just be like it could stay black.
Hmm.
Um
Yeah, I don't think that would necessarily be a problem.
hmm. Well, I guess whatever color that is, we don't really want it to um stand out from the green of the armor. And then I guess he also has a bunch of little like gems and stuff that will need to be painted. Like I feel them being like an orange or a red or something would work pretty well. So the head on this Eldar model, um that was so the back half of the head is just from a Harlequin head, and instead of gluing on the mask, I glued on the lower part of one of the newer like Bone Reaper models, so that's why he has the wicked grinning face. And then using green stuff, I sculpted that little visor thing on the front. And then his chin, I lengthened that with green stuff as well. A metallic green for like the visor, that could be cool because like I feel like a green, feel either red or green would sort of work well for like any of the gems or something like that. And so green would kind of be pretty striking.
If you just go lower on the Instagram page, you can find a picture of sort of the unprimed model, so you can kind of see what the head looks like.
I mean, there's like a side view of it, so you can more easily see the Harlequin head. I like cut off all the feathers and shit from the headdress.
Johnny seems like he was referring about the teeth being
the teeth being
the metallic green.
So I guess one thing that I could potentially, I guess I wish I was a little better with like Photoshop or something like that, because then I feel I could probably take this model and actually like Photoshop in colors to get a better sense of what things would look like. Johnny says visors would be dope with maybe a metallic medium with some yellow or orange glazes. Yeah, no, I do feel like an orange color for the gems would be cool.
I feel like an orangish red just because the red and green are very contrasting.
Yeah.
Which, what's the gentleman's name? Andrew Soper. It's like an amazing painter. He recently had a post about kind of color theory and sort of his painting and whatnot. And I mean, it was pretty brief, but I thought did a pretty good job of kind of talking about his process. And he, for his, what's his name? Gothrut Spume, that he won a Slayer sword for. I thought it was interesting how he wanted to use green and red because they contrast so well, but they kind of look a little jarring together, but how he sort of toned down and adjusted the colors such that they were still contrasting but not as clashing. And I thought that was interesting and kind of a good way to think about some of the colors. Like when if you're using sort of contrasting colors, you don't have to just do the brightest hues of them. Like you can adjust them to maybe work better together.
Yeah.
Where is it? I'm putting the link to by adjusting how cool or warm the different colors are, and then you can kind of adjust them and maybe make them look better. By saturating or desaturating. But I thought at the bottom he sort of shows kind of how he got to sort of the main colors for his Slayer sword winning thing, which
that's cool. I feel it's interesting. I'm more I don't know if most of the time I get out some paints and stuff that I think are kind of the color I want, and then they don't necessarily always go where I think I want them to go. So maybe I just need to experiment more with just painting little patches and stuff of different colors to kind of make sure they're like what I actually want.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's nice. That's a neat way to like think about it and kind of show, because yeah, these are very like bold and interesting colors, but they all kind of work together super well.
Mm-hmm.
But I should probably do something like this to figure out how I want to paint the Eldar. But yeah, so Johnny was saying like if we have like orange as gems to try and maybe like move the armor color, make sure it has more of a blue tint to it, that would probably work out pretty well.
So I'm not too familiar with Sharding Squid mentions these 30-minute mission Gunpla models. And I'm trying to find it. Yeah, 30 minutes missions. They seem to be, yeah, these, I guess, small kits that I guess you can assemble really quickly. Perhaps, or I don't know. It looks kind of neat.
Oh, wait, Johnny says no. The addition of an orange tone to your colors already. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I guess ultimately, as I sort of mentioned, I feel some of the Gundam models, or just any other model kits, is sort of a fun way to do something a little bit different, but still maybe learn something that could be applicable to what's your primary hobby. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about color theory. I feel it would be useful to be more versed in it, which I mean, I guess you can always learn, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess like because part of the scheme is a little bit going on some of those Dark Eldar schemes. Like we could look at some of them and see sort of what they did with theirs.
Well, so I mean, this model also has like the little robes, like her on the arms, and so like most of like the
That's
Dark
true.
Eldar that are kind of that green color, they have like the robes are like more of a purple color, purplish red or violet. Um, so that's like another thing in there that we'll have to deal with.
Yeah,
And so
how to
in
make
many
that.
regards, it might almost be better if I just sort of blocked in some of the colors initially, and then just sort of thought, just looked at what it looked like.
Yeah.
I feel if I might eventually make a few more like Eldar, like Corsairs or like pirates, but I feel even before that, I would probably try and explore some other alien races and stuff to go along with the Eldar model, because I think that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I feel it'd be cool to have some other interesting alien things, and then like a few other Eldar models as well that all had kind of a distinct look to them. That there was some, similarities between them, but they weren't like exactly the same. Like they didn't all have to have sort of the domed shape, but could maybe have the teeth or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you can use, rather than converting a shuriken catapult at them, you can use the one from that new Inquisitor model.
It's too big, Eric.
Yeah. Yeah, nah, clearly. But it's still interesting that they kind of went back to that older design aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but a group of these models like this would be awesome. Admittedly, you did spend like months already building this.
I feel
I guess it would
part of
probably go
that
quicker though.
part of that was just kind of figuring out the overall look and design of it. So like if I were to make another one, it wouldn't
be as
it wouldn't take as long. No, but I think maybe the next thing that when I start actually painting the Eldar again, I will try and block in some of the colors to kind of get a sense of what I think they look like and how I want to change or modify them. Rather than just trying to get one thing like perfect and then move on to the next, because chances are then I might want to like actually go back and change something, or like modify the hue or add some other like filters and stuff to it.
Yeah.
So I feel maybe that's how I should approach it.
Nah, yeah, I think you're right. I think would be helpful.
Dave says deep purple at the shoulders, yeah, so I feel something like that would be cool. I'll have to look at all the different purple paints and stuff that I have. I have a bunch.
I don't think I have too many. I have maybe one or two scale 75 ones, though, I think.
Yeah,
but
so I'll work on doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the next thing. You have to plow right into it, Adam. That's what you want.
It's true. Yeah, so maybe I'll start tomorrow. But in terms of like the lesser Xenos creatures, like it already months ago started converting. What was it? They're a Hrud. That's what they're called, right?
Yeah, that's what they're called.
So maybe I'll finish converting that model.
Yeah, no, I mean that's just another unfinished product that would be nice if you were able to, right?
Well, I think actually we posted the work in progress version of it a while ago, right? Somewhere.
A long while, yeah.
On one of the Inc. 28th, one of those days, maybe?
I think so. And that was probably even just having it resurface again after having started it and not finished it.
Oh yeah, here he is. They started working on him. Yeah, I have to finish him. Because he's also
diminutive looking thing.
He's pretty small, so he would kind of be really interesting and different looking from the actual Eldar itself and some other stuff.
Yeah, no, it would be good.
Okay, so I don't know. Is there anything else we think we want to chat about on? Is there anything that people in the chat would like us to talk about? Like, I think we've largely talked about most of what we were planning to discuss tonight. Well, I mean, I guess we did talk about. I sort of already showed like the one Gundam kit we were working on, or I was thinking about working on, but I could get out some other thing of miniatures and like look at the sprues and stuff and talk about them. I don't know if people are interested in that.
And I guess, I mean, as maybe we're waiting on that stuff, I mean, Games Workshop also kind of announced that they're going to be slowly opening their like warehouses and shipping some stuff again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's exciting, I suppose, provided they do a good, provided they take the necessary precautions and such.
Yeah.
So you can send out all those limited edition models everyone's been ordering.
Yeah, that's true.
So cool.
There are a lot of them.
Always.
What do I even have out? I have, well, actually, one model that we could actually look at, which I have here. I purchased the new Phoenix Lord a while ago before the pandemic, just to sort of get a better look at the redesign of the model and the different proportions and stuff. And I feel this Eldar model does a much better job of like with the proportions and stuff than some of the other more recent Eldar models.
Yeah. Certainly looks a lot better than the Howling Banshee models, I think.
Yeah,
So
were released at like the same time.
Yeah, no, I mean, not that the Howling Banshee models are terrible or anything, but they're not great. I feel it's still just yet another version of Howling Banshees that doesn't necessarily improve upon the great initial design that Jess Goodwin made. And I think his first versions of them are still maybe the best.
Yeah, I think they're my favorite. I mean, this model, like, the hair that she has is, like, fucking crazy. Like, two main pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's how they decided they were going to get the model to actually largely attach to the base itself. Just
Which is
through
an interesting idea.
the hair attaching to this, like, piece
Mm-hmm.
of, like, rubble.
Yeah.
But actually, the base itself is actually pretty nice. Like, there's like a crumbled like statue of maybe like an Eldar or something or other.
Yeah, no, it looks good.
It's also
Yeah,
interesting. Like her hands are actually like they're sized really well. They're not quite as huge as some of the other models that they're typically using. Her like feet are super
yeah.
pointed. They're super pointed, but they're actually pretty small
I
compared
feel
to.
they're not the 40K character models aren't as I don't know, over the top per se as a lot of the Age of Sigmar characters are, but they still like this still sort of follows that general trend of being a little bit more of a true scale in design. Like the hands aren't as big, hands and feet aren't as big, the limb proportions and stuff are better looking. Like a lot of the newer Age of Sigmar characters, like that Bone Reaper special character, a lot of the new High Elves, and those sorts of things. So I feel, oh yeah, and even like Abaddon was better proportioned. So it seems that, like, when they're oftentimes when they're making the character models, they have, I don't know, more free reign to do what they think is best, maybe. I mean, still, they're very kind of, at least for the 40K characters, are very much keeping the same visual design elements from the previous stuff, but still having some liberty to kind of improve the proportions and things like that,
I feel
which is great.
her head, like if you shaved off like all the different hair and the ears and stuff, in this like head crest, you could kind of make an interesting like Harlequin-esque face mask of sorts.
Next Eldar model, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably actually use this model to convert another Eldar model. The model itself the pose is maybe a little too action oriented.
Yeah, I feel it's sort of hard to work with. Like, I mean, it's good for what it is and such, but maybe hard to sort of, differentiate it from the original sculpt.
Her one shoulder pad is actually like a separate piece. That I
It's
feel
nice.
like that could be like lifted and put on any manner of different models. It's well shaped and I think could pretty easily fit on like any other Eldar model or even something else.
Yeah.
Her like spear of sorts might be a little too cool for school. Like they have these super long tassels and such, which I feel were just added to make the overall pose and stuff more dynamic, but like I don't know if they're
I mean, it looks like the spear is pretty thin and such, but I mean, it would have looked better thinner. But like, I don't like.
it would have been
At
a
some
nightmare.
point, you couldn't make it that much thinner without it just like snapping by looking at it.
Well, maybe sometime Games Workshop, instead of having these plastic poles and stuff, will just give you like a brass rod or something that you can insert. They probably won't, but that would be kind of an interesting
Yeah, that would be better.
solution.
That would be better.
But I don't know. I think with a lot of their plastic models and stuff, they've gotten pretty close to what is probably like the limit of how thin or fragile they could make anything. Because I mean, some of the newer stuff, like if you look at some of the unmade and stuff from Warcry, like My Lord, it's very thin and small. I mean this model itself very much should be taken and converted into something else.
Yeah.
And so maybe if I make another Eldar model to go with the group, like this, I feel I could make one that is more like, say, a Harlequin or something. And there, I feel like most people imagine them like somersaulting and leaping around and stuff. This could work well.
Well, don't you also have that? Don't you have the, what do you call it? The second end times box with all the Eldar stuff?
Yes.
Because there's the Visi Arch or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I feel he could be made into something neat by just, particularly if you extended his and made his torso more pronounced. I think he would look a lot better.
I'll actually try and get that. I'm gonna try and find that model. Oh boy. We're gonna move to the other screen while I do that.
Okay. Can still see Adam back there. Looking through all those pieces and boxes. I feel blessed to not have all those.
What do you feel blessed to not have, Eric?
To not have all those models.
Oh yeah, I hear that.
I mean, I guess it's nice that you have them organized in a way that you can find things. So that's something.
This thing, I think I already sent the female model. I already sent that away to another hobbyist to do something with it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I don't have that anymore. but
the floating demon host avatar of Yanid thing like that seems like something that will never be used for anything.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, crazy cross Xenos Corsair A-Team is sounding better and better. Yeah. I should try and do something like that. That would be fun. Goodness. Okay. So
Where do you have your microphone, Adam, in relationship to your desk and
it's like wait, it's right here. So it's pretty. It's maybe about a foot or so away from where I am.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because like picks up a fair amount of like unboxing sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is not very pleasant sounding.
Well, I should try. I'll have to try and work around that. But okay, so this is the. I don't remember what he's called, but
Visiarch or something
yeah.
to that extent.
So overall, like the model itself is pretty cool, but like he like has a very very small abdomen, and then like if you look at his actual like waist, he is almost like his waist is almost non-existent.
Yeah. Like he's a cool model, but I think that makes him not seem tall and impressive looking and look kind of weak and weird looking.
Yeah, like I feel the model itself.
It makes his sword look too big too.
I mean his sword's huge. But I feel like I mean his legs overall look pretty good. I mean his foot's probably too large. I mean he is kind of tall, but I feel like his abdomen is like lacking a lot. Like that should be like even if you just extended that a bunch, it would look better.
I think that would really be all you'd have to do to fix it or make it look substantially better, in my opinion.
Yeah, so maybe this model will be something I'll look into next as well, because it would be pretty easy to make kind of a neat look model. Like his cape, for instance, is cool. Has all these furs and gems and stuff.
I kind of feel it's also a model that maybe not that many people have at this point cut up and done stuff with.
He actually has a separate shoulder pad that's separate that kind of has a weird looking face on it that I don't think I ever really looked at. And he has this like a little like crest or whatever on it being on his back. And he has like kind of a lot of more of the traditional like Eldar imagery and stuff, and he's actually sort of a combination of that and some of the Dark Eldar stuff. Like his helmet, for instance, is kind of
actually. I'll be right back.
Has more of a sinister vibe to it. So I feel he could actually contrast sort of well with the other Eldar I've already made to be more of like like a heavily armored model. Then the Janzar model could be like kind of a rogue Harlequin of sorts. Yeah, so yeah, the Visiarch, which that's what I think he's called, could be perfect for that. Yeah, and actually you're right, Johnny. I probably could integrate some of the Bone Reaper stuff pretty well into this as well. Dave, this is a kit that they released a while ago. It was a collection of well, let me add a little bit. The triumvirate of you need, like a collection of 3 models, which I'm not sure at this point they might have released some of the models separately. Maybe they haven't, actually. For a lot of the other sets they did, like they released some other sets like this where one had like Cypher in it and the Primarch of the Ultramarines and stuff like that, and they eventually released the models separately. I don't know if they've ever done that with these models. No, but yeah, so like all of those are good ideas. Like I feel maybe I'll have to try and, so like I already have all these models. I should probably try and do something with them. But yeah, making like a heavily armored model out of this to contrast the one I have now, and then more of a lightly armored Lith acrobatic, like Corsair, Harlequin of sorts.
Yeah, I'm back.
Hey, Eric. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe once I finish this first Eldar, I'll consider making like 2 others, and then yeah, some cool aliens to go with them, and it would be a really neat like little kill team of sorts.
Yeah, it would be cool. Yeah, I think that would be cool. I don't know. Maybe we should wrap this up soon.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's probably a good idea. It's almost midnight here for us.
Yeah.
Well, I guess yeah, everyone, thanks for joining us. It's been fun. We talked
Yeah,
about
no,
a lot of stuff. Thanks for all of your suggestions for like color choices and stuff for the Eldar model I'm working on, and I'm certainly going to be showing more progress on that as I'm painting it and stuff. So I'm sure we'll have more discussions about it.
And maybe you could do even do a converting stream, kind of experimenting with converting some Eldar thing.
Yeah, so that's true too. Like maybe on stream, start working on some of these models and see kind of where it takes us.
Yeah, and get some input along the way.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. It's been fun. Stay safe. Keep working on the hobby, whether it's Gunpla, 40k stuff, Age of Sigmar, Malifaux, whatever. 8.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, keep on having fun. Enjoy the hobby, and we'll talk to you again soon. Over and
Yeah,
out.
thanks everybody.